Westfield San Francisco Center, otherwise known as the Westfield Mall, is losing its movie theaters as the owner abandons the mall and gives the entire mall back to its lender. Here's the mall that's roughly half filled and without a movie theater now. And, we've got $556 million in debt on it, but you know what? You can have it. Here's the keys. Good luck with that. What's going on in San Francisco? Let's get into it. Here we go. You know what I think is pretty crazy is that other areas of San Francisco are not having this kind of thing go on. This is primarily proximity to the Tenderloin. If you are in close proximity, like walking distance or in the Tenderloin, this is the impact it's having. Further out, you've got less external obsolescence. We are not seeing building or business going down much outside of the Tenderloin. It's specifically in the downtown core. And, it's distance to, all right, Tenderloin's there. These businesses, these buildings are going back to the bank, just some real chaos. The movie theater here, that's part and parcel of that whole deal. Just 2 days after Westfield said it would give up its downtown San Francisco Center, that's the actual mall, the shopping mall's movie theater has announced it will close this week as well. The Cinemark movie theater complex sent an email to its customers announcing its final films would be playing Thursday and the complex would close on Friday. Boom, done. We're out of here. We are no longer dealing with this. They've got a lease coming up and they're just pulling the plug. They're like, we're just pulling the plug. A movie theater is just basically saying there's not enough people coming to this theater to have this make a go of it. The shenanigans outside from the Tenderloin are driving away our business. Therefore, no muss. We're not going to do this anymore. In a statement to the Standard, the San Francisco Standard, Cinemark confirmed the decision to permanently close the Century San Francisco Center 9 theaters, and XD Theater shortly before the conclusion of its lease term, attributing the shutdown to a comprehensive review of local business conditions. That is a nice way of saying outside of its doors, there is a literal show on the streets. Literally. I kid you not. We talk about the dodge the human fecal matter game. I mean, you want to talk about prime territory to do that. The Tenderloin, open air drug market, open air stolen goods, human trafficking, you name it, you've got it there. Not good influence is what we're saying. And based on that, hotels in the area are going sideways. And by that, I mean, they are either being foreclosed upon, they are wildly upside down. There's around 20 hotels in this area, kind of, sprinkled throughout this area that are on the verge of, probably giving their ownership back to the bank and saying, here, Mr. Bank, Mrs. Bank, you take the keys, you deal with it, because this is a loser. So, this is not a one-off type thing. This is happening because San Francisco and its genius leadership has said, hey, open air drug markets, they're going to be okay. Harm reduction, just give the people clean needles. It'll all be okay. Just, they had literally a clean needle exchange site for about a year in the Tenderloin, and that got kind of out of trouble. That got kind of out of hand. And so they had to close that down, saying, well, it was only temporary during the tail end of the pandemic. Well, the impacts of what has been allowed in San Francisco are this. You've got everybody and their brother and mother and sister leaving this area because it's not conducive to doing business. People do not feel safe. And so this is the end result of just basically having a massively permissive and tolerant society. How's that tolerance working out? Yeah. So we've got this comprehensive review of local business conditions. I just read another article and I read the whole damn thing and I was like, they didn't say one thing about street conditions. Now, when we're talking about street conditions, we're not talking about the concrete or the asphalt or the landscaping like you might think. That's how I would think, because I'm a real estate guy, I'm a real estate appraiser. What were the street conditions? Well, the asphalt was slightly buckling and the sidewalk, yeah, you know what? Need a little touch up. Yeah, nonsense like that. But when you're talking about the Tenderloin, you are talking about people selling drugs, people doing drugs, people doing the fentanyl nod, heroin, needles, human poop, human urine, garbage. I mean, it's a terrible, terrible look. And people who go to movies, go shopping, are coming to town to do a hotel, they're not going to these places of business. And the numbers are, they're significantly down to the point where if you bought a hotel or if you bought a shopping mall and you took on a bunch of debt, as you do, and if the interest rate environment goes higher like it has, and you don't have the ability to refinance out, that's why you're seeing, foreclosures or just straight up, entities handing back their property. Like in the case of the Westfield Mall, the owners, who are a couple of partners, and one partner is from France, they're just saying, yeah, we want out. We want out of the United States market. We're selling off this, and this mall. And most of those other malls have like 97% occupancy. So they got some good stuff. They sold those. They have, I think, given up a couple more. But in San Francisco, they basically just said, hey, we're giving this bad boy up. You, Mr. and Mrs. Lender, you take it back. In the theater lobby, just after 9:30 a.m. Wednesday, a lone employee stood behind the ticket counter asking a coworker to check on online ticket orders, while a moviegoer wearing a San Francisco Giants jacket and cap asked for a large order of popcorn with extra butter. All right, it's 9:30 on a Wednesday. That's aggressive. Hey, he's going for a little fat. He's going for a little carbohydrate. Does he get a large Diet Coke? Does he get that with it? Because, no sugar, but you got that artificial. You got that saccharin or whatever it might be. Yeah, I don't know. Yang Jian Tang and his friend Yanni were at the theater to catch a Spider-Man matinee. Tang said he was surprised to hear of the closure and said he had visited the theater off and on for 4 or 5 years. So let's be honest. Let's talk about movie theaters. I have not been to a movie theater since before the pandemic. I just kind of got out of the habit, right? And you know what? I was thinking about this last night because I knew I was going to be, reporting on this today. Most of the content that Hollywood puts out now, I don't want to see. I have like zero interest in seeing. There's like rarely a new movie that comes out where I'm like, I need to see that. I need that content in my life. I don't know. Am I just getting old? I will watch reruns of whatever that I enjoy all day long. But I seem to be not frequenting movie theaters. There was a movie. What was the, I wanted to watch the, I think it was a shark movie. I wanted to watch an out of control shark movie. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And I did. And I think it cost me like $20 when the movie was still in the theater. But, what was that movie? One of those just ridiculous, terrible. I loved Sharknado, by the way. If you can't get into Sharknado, then what are you even doing, right? The more ridiculous, the better for me, because then I can realize that's ridiculous. That is not part of reality. We're going to enjoy that because sometimes reality is a little tricky, right? So the area surrounding the shopping center has been increasingly troubled. And yet, part of San Francisco just wants to ignore it. They just don't want to get into street conditions. Well, you see, we've got this retail apocalypse going on and, we've got the work from home thing and people aren't coming into the downtown as much. They tiptoe around everything but the real reason, which is, people don't want to be around an open air drug market selling who knows what, selling, people. Literally, you got human trafficking going on. And people don't want to be around. They don't want to maybe get shot by a gang member slinging their dope. You know what I mean? You don't want to be involved with that. So anything close to that, type of influence, people are saying no. And yet a lot of the media is like, well, we've got this big picture thing where, retail, movie, people just aren't really, going there for that kind of thing anymore. And in other areas of the town of San Fran, doing quite well. Their post-pandemic numbers are exceeding what they were pre-pandemic. So to me, this is, isolated to your proximity to the really horrific stuff, which is the Tenderloin, which is just, that large area. Surrounding area, the shopping center has been increasingly troubled. Cinemark theaters are accessible via a set of elevators in the Westfield Mall, where human waste has been found regularly, according to mall employees. I did that podcast. I believe, I'm going off memory here, which is, slippery at best. What was it? Up 400%? The incidents of poop on the Westfield Mall elevator were up over 400% within the last year or whatever. I think it used to be they had one or two, poop incidents a month, and now they've got a couple a week. So something like that. But people are on drugs, and the drugs they're taking, make them go number two. And sometimes they do not make it to the public restroom. So they just, let her rip on the elevator, and hopefully they get off and nobody sees them, because how embarrassing. Did you do that? Not me. Me? No. It smells terrible in here. What happened? I don't know. You're just going to completely deny it? No, because you're going to be on drugs, and you're going to look like you're on drugs and you just took a dump in the public elevator. And that's what they've got going on. Believe it or not, people don't want to be around that. And so the movie theater closes. The mall basically goes back to the lender. In the San Francisco Center, nearly half of the storefronts and eateries that were open in 2020 have since closed. 45% have closed. Just boom. Now they've had like 12 businesses come in that were mainly street level businesses in the area, who are now, all right, so we're going to get inside the mall, little bit of security presence there. We're not just as exposed as we were, and we're not in a little tiny little deal, maybe on the street level. So better, because I'm sure they're giving some pretty cheap rent, right? Hey, come to the Westfield Mall. We'll give you a deal. We've got price potential for you on this lease. We're going to give you whatever free. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Californication. But Brad Pitt told, who was his girlfriend? I forget who his girlfriend was. He was telling her, you know what? In California, they give you the first month rent free. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go month to month to month to month, different hotels or whatever that they were talking about renting. And I was like, that's a genius concept, but it doesn't really work like that. Right. And so, some of the bonuses I'm sure that these businesses are getting are, along those lines. You get first month rent free. You only pay for 11 months out of your year lease. Come have your customers step in poop on our elevator. The news is yet another major blow to San Francisco's Union Square shopping district overall. The imminent Cinemark closure news adds a 24th major shutdown in the area since the start of the pandemic, including the recent announcement that Old Navy will close its longtime Market Street location on July 1. All right. So yes, but Old Navy is legit struggling. And since we're reasonable here, Old Navy is struggling because of the whole retail apocalypse thing, right? It's like, okay, I'm not a huge Old Navy fan. When I go there, I'm like, this is some marginal quality stuff that is mass produced, that is probably for a little bit younger demographic than I would rather pay a little bit more money and have better quality stuff. But if you're looking for a t-shirt for an event, Old Navy, not a bad call. We have or had an Old Navy in a dying mall by my house that used to go into. I actually don't think it's there anymore. Shocking, right? Old Navy gone. But Old Navy, I think it is suffering from, you can buy a lot of cool stuff on Amazon, and it's going to take like an Old Navy out. And Old Navy is owned by the Gap, I believe. All right. So here's kind of a rundown going back, starting with most current. We go Cinemark, the theater, Old Navy, Cocoa Republic. That was an Australian home furnishing, I believe. T-Mobile out, coming back to Seattle, specifically here, Bellevue. That's where their headquarters are. Nordstrom, that is a 5-story level. They occupy 5 stories within this mall. and Nordstrom Rack, which is across the street. Saks off Fifth, which is Saks Fifth Avenue. That's their discount brand, right? Anthropology, again, that suffers from the retail apocalypse. Office Depot, you don't have enough office workers in the area to warrant keeping Office Depot open. Amazon Go, yeah, we're going to go somewhere else. Arc'teryx, super expensive, good, really good quality outdoor gear. The Real, don't know. CB2, I don't know what either of those are. I think those are both retail. Banana Republic, retail. Athleta, great retail. Container Store, oh my gosh, I get so bored in there. It's like one container after another. It is called the Container Store. We got Crate and Barrel, Abercrombie Fitch, Discount Shoe Warehouse, Disney, Uniqlo, Marshalls, H&M, and The Gap. Those last 4 or 5, those were all victims of the retail apocalypse. So you get an idea of, who's bailing. But I think you're going to see more and more of these stores just up and go. Because who wants to stick it out in a mall that is literally just smells like death? I mean, half the stores are closed, and new ones that come in, they're not doing great because there's not enough foot traffic. We talk about foot traffic. Those are the people that are willing to go into the mall, do a little shopping. I was reading an article yesterday about, or maybe I was recording a podcast about the mall's owner, that partnership with the French company as well, giving it back. And so the author was interviewing somebody that was eating lunch in the food court in the Westfield Mall. And they basically said it's a respite from, she didn't say shenanigans, but I'm going to, because that's a word we like here on this channel. It's a respite from the shenanigans going on outside, meaning there's crazy stuff going on the street just outside. So you come inside to the mall and there's, supposedly less of that because you've got mall security and, all that good stuff, but they can't seem to keep the poopers out of the elevator. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. So you've got this environment where it's facing this doom loop cycle of people don't want to come into the downtown core. People aren't wanting to come back, more than 3 days a week. They don't want to do 3 days a week into their, business locations. They don't want to do that. So there's all of this pressure that is keeping people away from the downtown core. They don't want to go there. And I don't blame them because there's so many of the decisions, the policy of, just decriminalize drugs. It'll be fine. Decriminalize, drug use outdoors, shoplifting, any of that stuff, just anything goes, and specifically in this area. And the Tenderloin has always been one of those areas where it's just got that reputation, right? So you're going to have to go in and you're going to have to clean up the Tenderloin, and good luck there. I mean, Governor Newsom has already talked about, we're going to send in the feds, we're going to send in the National Guard. We're going to work with the sheriff's office. We're going to work with San Francisco police. Yeah, that's all good and everything, except if the district attorneys aren't going to, throw these drug dealers and drug abusers in jail, then you're going to hand them a fine and say, hey, we'll see you in court. Where's that going to lead you? Because they're going to go right back out to the streets of the Tenderloin and do their thing. So until somebody really starts to drop the hammer on this, which I do not see happening in the near future, I know there's a few big conventions coming to San Francisco, and it will be a test of how things are going because, tourism is such a massive, massive part of any city's economy, and especially a city like San Francisco, where, people from all over the world go there to shop and, see the sights of San Francisco, go see Alcatraz, go see, the market, go see Haight-Ashbury. I mean, it's got a lot to offer. And yet in this section, a little south of, a lot of that stuff we're talking about, it is just out of control and not a good sight to see. And then the neighborhoods surrounding it are being impacted by that. They're being impacted. And specifically the businesses are at a point where, we can't make enough money to cover the payments on the building. We're handing it back. We're not making enough money to cover our rent, movie theater. I can't imagine there's a lot of people looking to go to a movie in the Tenderloin, just in general. That just doesn't seem like a thing to do. Maybe if you're local, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm here already. I'm already impacted by all this craziness that's going on. Why wouldn't I go to the movie theater? But those aren't enough people to pay the bills. And so we're at that point where literally boom, 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 boom. You've got business after business after business saying, we out, we got to go. We got to go. And the vast majority of them, on their exit card says, the problematic street conditions of San Francisco have led us to investigate other alternatives from where we can run our said business. In a nice way, without burning bridges, they are saying, we're just getting out of here because it is not good. And it's not good for business. And that's a lot of what I talk about. That's what a lot of what I cover here is, the direct results of policy that has put, not only San Fran, but LA, Portland is a poster child for bad policy. Seattle, terrible policy. I mean, what are we even doing? We're averaging, I think, 11 or 17 911 calls a day for OD. And yet we can't figure out, how to get our city council members on the same page of, hey, we might have a little bit of a fentanyl crisis here, kids. And so we need to come up with a, consensus plan. And one of the plans was to allow the Seattle city attorney to prosecute some of the open air drug use and possession. But our council just last week said, no, we need to reimagine and rethink this some more. Meanwhile, 7 out of 9 of those council members those positions are going to be up in November. But this is Seattle, just like Portland, just like San Fran. They're going to make the citizens are going to make the same decisions and then wonder, why are street conditions pushing people away from running businesses and running malls in our area? I don't get it. There's work to be done. We need to reimagine and rethink. Another thing that I'm talking about is conversion of downtown space into anything else that's viable. And you know what? You just keep running into roadblocks because residential use out of a commercial use, that's a hard no-go. I mean, it's just, you're going to have to get, and it's a hard no-go because the amount of money to put into infrastructure to redesign and recreate that building to go from, commercial to residential, the developer is going to have to get such a discount on that building. And we're not there numbers wise yet. You're basically going to have to give the land and the building away to somebody who gets it for nothing. And then has the budget within the, perceived equity at the end of the project to make a go of it, to go out and get that loan, to put the $600-700 million into it, whatever it might be, to take a big parcel, a big building and redo it. Maybe it's $100 million, whatever the numbers might be. But we're talking about converting a lot of this space. I don't see that happening anytime soon. So you're going to have just all these buildings kind of sitting and people going, wow, I wonder what direction the Tenderloin's going in. Well, the movie theater is saying, not anymore. We're done. This movie theater has been talking about leaving for quite some time. So this is not all of a sudden, boom, this happened kind of thing. This is one of those long, slow death spirals. And that's what I'm covering. If a hot dog stand closes in the Tenderloin, I'm covering it. So make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell because that's the stuff we're putting up. We're putting up, here's your policy. Here's the direct result, causation. This is the end result. How is that working out? You got an entire mall that's going back. Yeah, not good. Not good. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being part of News for Reasonable People. I'll catch up with you in the next one. Bye for now.